Andrew Bobros here. I want to do a quick video on our defense, camp battles, and get into what we can expect from our defensive philosophy moving into 2023. So, guys, let's get into it.
Bobros!
Okay, guys, Andrew Bobros here. As always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. Guys, training camp is awesome. And day one, we had the pads on, and a lot of things happened in camp, and a lot of red zone breakups with some of the folks I want to discuss. But I want to discuss really defensive philosophies moving forward, why some of these camp battles matter, right? I know we could discuss who does what, who breaks up what pass, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, why do these battles matter? Well, look, like or dislike Brandon Staley, I know he's a pretty polarizing figure within the Charger community. I love the guy, right? Defensively minded, the man is a genius, right? I mean, he's really single-handedly changed the way NFL defenses are run, right? He likes the two-eye safety look. That's a big part of what he does. The safety is the most important part of his defense, right? That's why we are so lucky to have someone like a Derwin James. Talk more about him later. But the other part of the conversation is, well, what are we going to do differently this season, right? I know we were really bad. Now, one of the things that Brandon Staley talked about extensively is stopping the run. That's going to be a major focus. I don't want to talk too much about defensive linemen. I think we all know who our starting defensive lineman is going to be. It's going to be Bash in the middle, Morgan Fox, and then most likely Austin Johnson. If not Austin Johnson, then Nick Williams. Nick Williams is out there right now getting a lot of reps. Now, my brother James talked a lot about rookies. Scott Matlock is looking great. Tito Ogbonnia is coming back from an injury. There's a lot we could discuss on the defensive line. I really want to talk more about the defensive backfield, and that's really where I think the defensive battles are going to be more important moving forward, largely because of the conversations about being important as far as safety is concerned moving forward, the safety position with the Chargers. But I want to talk about this man right here as well, too, Derek Ainsley. Derek Ainsley, as you guys know, I was not impressed with some of his initial comments around him becoming the defensive coordinator, right? Well, that conversation and narrative has changed a little bit. Derek Ainsley has kind of come out a little more recently and said, hey, he's taking a little bit more of an approach of trying to be very aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. There's been some discussions around him disguising coverages moving forward. And guys, as we know this, defense is in the NFL, their back is already against the wall, right? None of the actual penalties or anything like that is really designed for the defense to win, right? They want to see scores, NFL touchdowns, field goals. They don't want the defense to win, right? So where do you specifically place your players? Well, you want to stop things up top. And so Derek Ainsley's really calling a bit about moving Derwin James up and down the box, which I want to discuss because bottom line, that's a big difference of what's going to happen with this team moving forward. And again, I've talked so much about the safety position, folks. The safety position with Brandon Staley and Derek Ainsley is critical, right? Reading the defense, understanding what's happening. Are they splitting the safeties moving forward? Do you pick the right side or the left side? You stay in the middle. All these decisions become so important because most of the time we all know that the defensive backs are really covering quarters, which is really kind of a hybrid zone man type of scheme. That's pretty much what Brandon Staley runs, I would say 75-80% of the time, right? And a lot of nickel and a lot of dime. The nickel and dime is going to become very important moving forward. I'm going to discuss that specifically quite a lot here. But as I do that, I want to talk about this man right here. Derwin James, by the way, God, how sick was this tackle? By the way, he was fined $50,000 for tackling Kelsey like this at the goal line because he picked him up and just body slammed him. It was absolutely incredible, right? And look, say what you want to say about anybody, here in as far as safety is concerned. Derwin James is the number one safety in the league. I not many people would really argue that discussion, right? Again, he had 115 combined tackles last year, 51 assists, 4 sacks, and 2 interceptions. Now, the thing about Derwin James is, we talked about this a lot. Derwin James is one of those guys where he can do everything. Brandon Staley talks about that constantly. The reason why the safety position is so important, the safety has to diagnose it's a run plays, it's a screen play, deep pass, deep threat, middle of the field. You have to have everything. He is the quarterback of the defense moving forward. So moving him down on the box does what? You leave a one high safety up top and you're exposed to a deep pass. And that's why Brandon Staley and really Derek Ainsley talked about this quite a bit, why they're so concerned about having another safety back there that can really make sure that nothing is really exposed. Again, big reason why I wanted John Johnson over here to the Chargers, because then we have a veteran safety back there that can read and diagnose better. He also knows Brandon Staley's defense. He was with him with the Rams. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. So the defensive back battle is really the conversation we have to discuss as far as really positions open for players to get, right? That's why I really talked about Jasir Taylor and Dean Leonard. More on them later. But I will say this also, Derwin James is a special type of player, right? And again, you look at his numbers, he had 4 sacks last year. Guys, let me say this. Let me say one last thing about Derwin James before I move on to the next person that is really going to change our defense. If Derwin James was able to move down in the box, this is exactly why Brandon Staley and Derek Ainsley wants him to be able to be more down in the box and do some more edge rushing. I promise you, if he has a 33% chance of getting to the quarterback, or at least making a hurry on that quarterback. He helps with the run game. He's very physical. You saw what he did with Kelsey. But secondarily, he can get to the quarterback and cause pressure, right? So if you can blitz him more frequently, guys, he had 4 sacks last year. I promise you, he could have 8 to 10 sacks if he was able to be down in the box more frequently. He is that good, and he's that fast. So, folks, we want him to have the ability to do that. Again, it's a big reason why I like the idea of bringing in someone like a John Johnson. I know, guys. I know what you're going to say. You're going to get angry. Low, he's the guy. We got JT Woods, yada, yada. We're going to talk more about that as well, too. But again, he just brings another element to our pass rush if you can have Derwin James out in the box. Brandon Staley and Derek Ainsley know that, right? Also, he was playing a lot of star and a lot of money. He was in the slot a lot. So there was a lot of different formations they were putting Derwin James in. They want to move him all over the field. Let me make this very clear. He's the most important person on the field for the defense, for the Chargers. He is the guy. Okay. Everything runs to Derwin James, and he's a fantastic human being. Day one, he was out there signing as many autographs. Man, he came over. Man, I just so impressed with this gentleman, and I've been such a huge fan of him since day one. I have a Derwin James jersey. I love the guy to death. So let's talk a little bit more about position battles, what matters, and where we're looking at. I want to talk about this guy first before I go too much into the position battles. This guy's wearing the green dot. Eric Hendrickson, we know what he's done. He's been absolutely fantastic linebacker for the Vikings. Okay, let's just review his stats from last year. He had 137 combined tackles last season, 50 assists, 1 sack. Okay, you might say, wow, that's not a whole lot. 2021, he had 5 sacks. I do think he's going to blitz a little more this season as well. So I think it really depends on injuries moving forward, but I do think he'll have probably the opportunity to blitz quite a bit more this next season. Last season, from what I could tell from the Vikings, he really didn't blitz a whole lot. He was pretty much in the middle. Very good at coverage, very good at managing people. And I'll just give you a few quotes from some of the players, right? Derwin James has nothing but high praises on him. I think Khalil Mack said he's got a calming presence. He's definitely the right guy to be wearing the green dot for the Chargers this next season. I'm just excited to see what he can do. Having a veteran presence there. Again, we have him for 2 years, so I'm excited to see what he can do moving forward. I think he's going to be an excellent middle linebacker for us. And guys, he stays healthy too, right? He plays a lot of football, right? He doesn't have a lot of injuries. He's pretty good. And he gets interceptions, right? I think in 2020 he had 3 interceptions. He's had 9 total interceptions in his career. Very good in coverage. When you got people like Travis Kelsey in our division, right? He could go out there in coverage with him. A lot of interoperability with what you can do with a guy like Eric Hendrickson, and he's looked great out there as well too. And the guy's Deion Henley. Deion Henley looks absolutely fantastic. TBD on what we're going to see with K9 moving forward. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him, right? I mean, he's one of those guys that's pretty polarizing as well. But we'll see how that plays out. So, all right, moving on to some of the other players that I think really we need to discuss. J.C. Jackson, Mr. INT is back, folks. I'm going to do a prediction video. Probably start with J.C. Jackson, but I think this guy could be the comeback player of the year. He is extremely excited to be out there and absolutely kicking ass, looking great. They are having him on a very tight leash. They do not want him to re-aggravate his patellar tendon. As we all know, that was a very bad injury. So Brandon Staley specifically talked about, hey, let's be very cautious with him, but he is looking fantastic in camp right now, folks. I mean, no joke. He is looking absolutely incredible. He's had a number of pass breakups when we were there. had a number of pass breakups on day one when the pads came on. So he's looking absolutely crisp, clean. Mr. INT is back. I'm excited to see him. They are going to bring him back gingerly, but I think he's understanding the system a little bit more again from Bill Belichick's system at the Patriots. Very different than, that system that he runs over there compared to what Brandon Staley is really asking him to do. So I think there was some question marks on how he could pick things up. But again, he's back. I mean, I'm super hyped for him. I think he's going to have a great season. My prediction video will be coming up shortly. All right, let's talk about some camp battles to watch. Y'all know who this guy is, Dean Leonard. Dean Leonard, man, I was impressed with him last season, but man, he's turning heads right now in camp. Day one, he had a number of pass breakups. He's looking very good. Now, again, we all know he's a cornerback, so this is sort of a depth piece. Dean Leonard and Jasir Taylor were both huge special team stars for us next season. This is why I think we could maybe have some of these undrafted free agents like an AJ Finley, Tywone Mullins, some of these guys, if they can do well in special teams, they may find a spot on the roster just because I think Dean Leonard and also Jasir Taylor are going to take a little bit larger approach. We're going to talk more about Jasir Taylor here in a few minutes, but Dean Leonard and Jasir Taylor are turning heads in camp. They are looking fantastic. I want to talk about Dean Leonard specifically for a second because last season he looked really good in our preseason games. The problem with Dean Leonard was he wasn't positioned well in the NFL game, right? He was a little more on top of the players. He wasn't looking back at the ball. We all know that's a pass interception call. And so his body positioning was huge. Brandon Staley talked about that. You saw him, if you saw the mic'd up video that he did, he coached up Jasir Taylor like crazy on that. Also heard him coach up Dean Leonard quite a bit on that, right? Brandon Staley is putting a lot of pressure on this man right here to step up. He needs him to step up as a cornerback because, again, folks, there's only so many people can make this team, right? There's only so many people that can do it, and injuries happen. We know that. We don't want to discuss it, but it happens, right? Guys like Vato's looking absolutely incredible. Vato's looking freaking lights out, folks. I mean, he's looking absolutely incredible. I would put a slide up, but I had too many slides I could go through on this, right? But again, you need backups, right? And this guy, Dean Leonard, could be our guy come at some point in the season, right? Injuries happen, banged up, hammy, whatever you want to discuss. But he is getting a lot of love in camp right now, folks, a lot of love. And, he's had a couple of brass breakups. I think one, J.C. Jackson had one against Josh Palmer. Then Palmer got the best of J.C. Jackson after that. A lot of red zone attacks in day one with pads on. So it's been pretty good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Jasir Taylor. Jasir Taylor is looking really good, and we're going to wrap up the video here. I don't want this to be too long, but Jasir Taylor, just like Dean Leonard, getting a ton of love. So, again, a lot of red zone drills, and Dean Leonard and Jasir Taylor look very good against our number ones, folks. They look really, really good. So my point in bringing this up is they've had a lot of pass breakups, and I do believe, I'm trying to remember what he said here. Okay, so one of the quotes from Brandon Staley was, as you know, both Dean Leonard and Jasir Taylor made really big impact on our team on special teams last year. Now you can see him as that guy, a corner, and we can continue to develop. Guys, it's important, right? Because, again, injuries happen. You guys see out there, to defend this group of receivers, you have to defend, especially down in the red area, is going to make everybody better. Folks, ASJ is looking really good. Okay, Jasir Taylor's looking really good. Dean Leonard's looking really good. Again, the one guy that I'm a little frustrated with is still JT Woods. JT Woods has put on some weight, but he hasn't really stepped up and really, shown anybody anything super special, right? He's out there. He's in the right plays. So again, also, and I'll end on this, but Jasir Taylor had 3 straight pass breakups in the red zone drills on Monday, which is amazing. Now, again, it's going to be pretty awesome to see, where we're at. But again, folks, look, let me just wrap up my general thoughts philosophically. We're going to see Derwin James move around a lot more in the field, which is going to be great. Okay. But our safety play has to step up and be better than it was last season, right? Again, Lowe, as of today, is the guy. Okay, he's the guy. He's the guy next to Derwin James. Derwin James has his thumbs up of approval. But can JT Wood step up? Right now, thus far, we're not seeing a whole lot of that, right? But Dean Leonard's looking good. Jasir Taylor's looking good. Asante Samuel Jr. is looking amazing. how they're going to move these guys around is going to really be interesting to see in camp. This is why I really do think there's a good chance we could see some folks make the 53-man roster, like AJ Finley, some of these other folks, because I do think that there's going to be, a bigger emphasis on some of these guys stepping up. This is where the preseason games matter. So moving forward, guys, we're talking about this in camp, but once these scrimmages start happening, I believe the Saints are coming in, and then we're going to start having some preseason games. This is what we need to start watching. Who is playing well in safety? Who is playing well? You're going to see a lot of JT Woods out there. You're going to see a lot of, maybe a little bit of Low. You may not see a ton of him moving forward, but they're going to get a lot of reps for Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor in some of these preseason games. So, guys, a little bit of a longer video. But again, I think bottom line, we're seeing a lot of good things from the defense moving forward. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to disguise packages. We don't want people to just know immediately, hey, they're running quarters, they're running, zone, they're running nickel, they're running dime. There's going to be a lot of disguising moving forward. But again, the good news is we have a lot of good players here. We are ready to go. We have a lot of depth. This team has a ton of depth, folks, which is amazing. We've never had that before. So again, subscribe if you do enjoy the content. Leave your thoughts down below. I'm Andrew Bopros. See you guys in the next one.